All right, today we're taking a trip to the north of Portugal. We're heading to this incredible city built right on granite cliffs, looking out over a river. And its identity is so completely wrapped up in one single drink that they actually share a name. Of course, we're talking about Porto and its amazing world-famous port wine.
Okay, just for a second, close your eyes. Go on. I want you to picture this. You're standing in a cool, dark cellar, somewhere in Villanova de Gaia, and the air, it's just thick with this sweet, super complex smell of wine that's been aging in these enormous oak barrels. See, this isn't just a drink we're talking about, it's a whole sensory experience, and that is exactly what we are uncorking today.
All right, so let's get right into it. Our whole story really kicks off in the city of Porto. It's actually called the Invincible City, which is pretty cool. And if you've ever been, you know that steep, winding streets and those famous, colorful houses, well, they all seem to lead down to one place, the Douro River. And that river is everything. It's the lifeblood of the city, and, you guessed it, it's wine.
I mean, the city's landscape basically tells the whole story for you. You've got the vibrant Ribeira district right there on the waterfront. Then you look across the river, spanned by that absolutely incredible Dom Luiz I Bridge, and there they are, the legendary wine cellars. And down on the water itself, you'll still see those iconic Rabelais boats. The traditional boats that, for centuries, did nothing but ferry barrels of wine down that river. See? Every single piece is connected.
But look, to really get the wine, we've got to leave the city behind. We have to travel upstream. Our journey is going to take us right into the heart of the dramatic, absolutely breathtaking Douro Valley. And trust me, this is where the real magic happens.
So, to understand what makes this wine so incredibly special, we have to talk about a concept that is, it's the heart and soul of winemaking. And that word is terroir. Now, it's a French word, yeah, but it just perfectly captures the spirit of the Douro. It's not just about the soil. Think of it as the whole environment, the climate, the land, the people, the unique combo of everything that makes this place totally one of a kind.
And this really breaks down the key elements. First, the soil. It's mostly this rock called schist, which is kind of flaky. It forces the vine roots to really struggle and dig super deep for water. But here's the thing, that schist is like a secret weapon. It fractures vertically, so when the winter rains come, it traps water deep underground, and that gives the vines just enough to drink to survive the crazy hot summers, and that struggle produces these incredibly intense grapes. Then you add in the super steep terraces, they're called salcalcos, carved by hand over centuries, and a really harsh climate, well, you get this challenging environment that is the absolute secret to port's power.
Okay, so we've got these incredible grapes, grown in this totally unique terroir, but what is it that makes port, port? What's the thing that sets it apart? Well, the secret is all in a unique process, one that's deeply rooted in history. And that process is called fortification.
So a little bit of history here is really key. Port wine's popularity just exploded back in the 18th century. And a big reason why? Well, England was always at war with France, so they needed a reliable alternative to their beloved French claret. And they found it in Portugal. But here was the problem. How do you get the wine all the way back to England on a long sea journey? Well, merchants started adding a little bit of brandy to stabilize it. And this didn't just preserve the wine, it totally transformed it. The demand got so huge that by 1756, the Douro was officially marked out and regulated to protect its quality, making it the very first official wine region of its kind in the entire world. How cool is that?
So how did this thing that was basically a historical accident turn into such a refined art? It's a really fascinating process. Okay, here's the breakdown. When the grapes are crushed, they start to ferment, right? So the yeast is eating the sugar and creating alcohol. But, and this is the absolute key moment, the winemakers stop that process right in the middle by adding a neutral grape spirit. That extra alcohol just stops the yeast in its tracks. And what's left behind? All that delicious, unfermented natural grape sugar. And that is how port gets its signature sweetness and that powerful, rich character.
Okay, so now we know how it's made, which is awesome. So let's explore the different styles. And really, it all begins with the two most fundamental categories you'll see everywhere, ruby and tawny.
And this breaks it down perfectly. The big difference between them? It's all about how they're aged. So, on one hand, you've got ruby ports. They're aged in these huge tanks with almost no contact with oxygen. And that's what keeps their deep red color and those bold, fruity flavors. We're talking cherry, plum, that kind of thing. Tawnies, on the other hand, are the opposite. They're aged in smaller oak barrels, which lets a lot more oxygen in. And over the years, that oxygen just mellows the wine out, giving it that brownish or tawny color, and developing these amazing complex nutty and caramel flavors.
And believe me, it does not stop there. There's a whole world beyond the basics. You have vintage port, which is like the absolute pinnacle, the creme de la creme. It's only made in the very best years, and it's built to age for decades. Then there's LBV, or late bottled vintage. Think of it as a more approachable version of a vintage port. It's from a single year, but it's ready to drink way sooner. And then, yep, there's even white port, a totally different style, made from white grapes, and you'll often see it served chilled with tonic. It's an amazing aperitif.
All right, so we've covered the place, the process, and the different types of port. But to truly understand it, you have to experience it the way the locals do. And that means seeing it as a huge part of their culture and, of course, their food.
And this is where it all comes together, right at the dinner table. See, port is not just an after-dinner drink, not by a long shot. Let's take that legendary, totally over-the-top sandwich, the Francina. That rich, savory sauce is just a perfect match for a bold ruby port. Or what about an intense, creamy sheep's cheese like Serra de Estrella? Oh, it's absolutely divine with the nutty complexity of an aged tawny. And the national dish, bacalhau, salt cod, a crisp white port cuts right through that richness. It's beautiful.
So when it all comes down to it, it's really this simple. Port wine isn't just something that comes from Porto. It is Porto. It's the struggle of the vines on those steep terraces. It's the centuries of history sleeping in the cellars of Gaia. It's the vibrant culture of the city itself. All of it, captured in a single glass. You know, it's a journey that starts way out in the vineyards and ends with a taste that tells a story hundreds of years old. From the bold, bright fruit of a ruby to the silky, smooth caramel of a tawny, there's just a whole world in there to explore. So, I guess the only question left for you is, how will you discover it?